Chapter 1. A Past That Doesn't Scare Me. The coffee shop on 7th Avenue was unusually quiet for a Saturday afternoon. Outside, the leaves danced with the breeze, rustling against the windows like gentle reminders of change. Emily Carter sat at a corner table, her fingers wrapped around a warm mug of chai latte. She wasn't nervous, but her heart fluttered with anticipation. She had met Daniel Cooper through a parent at the school where she taught. He was a friend of a friend, an introduction that came with a soft warning. He's been through a divorce, and he has a daughter. Just be prepared. But Emily wasn't one to be scared off by someone's past. Everyone had one, and at 32, she knew that life rarely handed people blank slates. What mattered to her wasn't where he had been, but who he was now. The bell over the door chimed softly. She looked up. Daniel entered. Tall and slightly windswept, his hair tousled from the early autumn wind. He wore a denim jacket over a checkered shirt, and his expression softened when he spotted her. "Sorry, I'm a few minutes late," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. Lily was having a meltdown over socks. Emily smiled. The classic sock standoff. "You win." "Only because I bribed her with pancakes," he said, his laugh warm and a little sheepish. "I'm not above using syrup as currency." It was easy to laugh with him. That had surprised her from the start. Daniel wasn't flashy or smooth, but he was thoughtful, grounded. There was something calming about the way he listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak, but really listening. They talked for over an hour. About work, his construction firm had just won a city contract. About teaching, Emily shared the chaos of a class hamster escape last week. And finally, about Lily. She's 9. Smart. A little sensitive. A lot like her mom. Actually, Daniel said, stirring his coffee slowly. "I won't lie, co-parenting with Hannah hasn't always been easy." Emily nodded. "It rarely is. But it sounds like you're trying your best." Daniel looked at her then, really looked. "I am. And I guess that's why I wanted to be honest with you from the beginning. I'm not looking for someone to be a mother to Lily. But if anything ever got serious between us, she'd be a part of it." "I'd expect nothing less," Emily said quietly. "And I don't mind the past. Daniel, we all carry things with us. What matters is how we carry them." His shoulders relaxed visibly, as though he hadn't realized he'd been holding tension there. "Can I ask something personal?" she said. "Of course. Why did your marriage end?" He hesitated. Then, slowly, "We married young." "Too young." "I was ambitious. She was independent. Somewhere along the line, we just stopped being partners. We tried, for Lily's sake. But it turned into silence, then fights. When we divorced, it wasn't angry. Just tired." Emily respected that honesty. So many people tried to paint their exes as villains. Daniel didn't. He simply owned the truth, without bitterness. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "I know dating a single dad isn't most people's idea of simple," he said. "But I didn't want to start anything with half-truths." "I'm not here for simple," Emily replied, her voice steady. "I'm here for something real." They walked out together after paying. The late afternoon sun lit the sidewalk in warm gold, and the air smelled faintly of cinnamon from a nearby bakery. "I'd like to see you again," he said as they reached her car. "I'd like that, too." He looked at her for a beat longer, then added, "Maybe next time you'll meet Lily." No pressure. Just ice cream and crayons. Emily smiled. "Deal." As she drove home, a quiet certainty settled in her chest. She knew this wasn't going to be easy. Blended families never were. But there was something honest about Daniel. Something kind. And that, more than anything, was worth leaning into. That night, Emily stood by her window, watching the wind pull at the trees in her small backyard. Her phone buzzed, a text from Daniel. "Thank you for today. For not running away from my past. I think you're kind of extraordinary." She read the words twice, then replied, We all have pasts. I just want to see if we can build a future. Then she turned off the light and went to sleep, not with dreams of fairy tales, but with hope for something honest and something deeply hers. Chapter 2. First Steps into a Shared Life. Emily stood in front of the full-length mirror in her bedroom, smoothing down the soft blue blouse she'd chosen for the afternoon. Today wasn't a date. It wasn't even anything particularly significant. And yet, her stomach flipped nervously, like she was back in high school and about to meet someone's parents for the first time. Except it wasn't parents. It was Lily. 9-year-old Lily Cooper. She took a steadying breath. Daniel had called a few days ago with a simple idea. How would you feel about joining us for a quiet afternoon at the park? Just to hang out. No pressure. Lily's been asking about you. The words had made Emily's heart flutter. Not from nerves, but from something closer to gratitude. A small bridge was being offered, and she was being invited to cross it. The park was tucked behind a community center near Daniel's neighborhood. It was one of those family-friendly spaces, bright green fields, climbing nets, and a shaded bench beneath a maple tree. Emily spotted them easily. Daniel was pushing Lily gently on a swing. The little girl had curly chestnut hair tied into 2 uneven pigtails and wore a pink hoodie with a unicorn patch on it. Daniel waved when he saw her. There she is, he called. Lily glanced over, then immediately slowed the swing with her feet. She looked unsure. Emily crouched slightly as she approached, so they were closer to eye level. Hey there, Lily. I'm Emily. The little girl glanced at her dad, then back at Emily. I know, she said simply. Emily smiled. Your dad's told me you like coloring. And pancakes. And that you're pretty much the queen of cartwheels. Daniel chuckled. Lily narrowed her eyes, the way kids do when they're trying to figure out whether you're safe or not. I can do 5 in a row, she said after a pause. Whoa! I can barely do 1 without falling over, Emily said. Lily's mouth tugged into a half smile. Wanna see? Absolutely. And just like that, Lily was off the swing, kicking off her sneakers and launching into her cartwheel streak across the grass. It wasn't perfect, but it was impressive. And most of all, it was brave. Daniel gave Emily a grateful look. You're good with her. She's easy to like. They spent the afternoon that way, drawing chalk shapes on the sidewalk, feeding ducks by the pond, and sharing ice cream cones that melted too fast. At one point, Lily reached for Emily's hand without thinking as they walked. Just for a second. But Emily felt it like a small spark. Later, while Lily climbed up a jungle gym shaped like a pirate ship, Daniel and Emily sat on the grass nearby. She likes you, he said quietly. She barely knows me. She likes you anyway. Emily glanced at him, cautious but curious. What about Hannah? Is she okay with Lily spending time with me? Daniel looked down at the grass, pulling at a blade between his fingers. She's complicated, but she knows Lily needs stability. I told her I'm serious about you, that I wouldn't introduce anyone lightly. A pause. Emily swallowed. And are you serious about me? Daniel turned to her earnest. I am. I'm not trying to rush anything. But I've never felt this kind of peace with someone, Em. You don't come with expectations. Or drama. Just kindness. Emily didn't speak right away. She watched Lily wave at them from the top of the pirate mast. The wind lifted the corner of her hoodie. I want to be here, she said softly. But I need you to know something. Anything. I won't compete with your past. Not with Hannah. Not with what was. I'll care for Lily like she's my own. But if there's still something unresolved with your ex, I need to know. I can't be part of a story that hasn't ended yet. Daniel was quiet. Then he nodded slowly. I hear you. And I promise, what I had with Hannah is over. You're not in second place. Emily nodded. But some part of her still stored the words away, not with suspicion, but with the caution of someone who had learned that love was beautiful, but boundaries made it sustainable. That night, Emily got a text from Daniel. A photo. It was a drawing Lily had made of the three of them, stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. The figure in the middle had a giant letter, E drawn on the shirt. She asked if you could come to movie night next Friday. Her pick is How to Train Your Dragon. Hope you're ready for dragons and popcorn. Emily smiled. Tell her I'll bring the popcorn if she saves me a seat. In her quiet apartment, surrounded by papers and children's books, Emily finally let herself feel it. This wasn't just a first step. It was the beginning of a real possibility. Chapter 3. Meeting Lily, the first true test. The evening air was cool and crisp as Emily pulled into Daniel's driveway. The house stood modest but welcoming, with soft light spilling from the windows and the faint sound of a cartoon playing from inside. She clutched a small paper bag in her hand, popcorn and a couple of Emily's homemade cookies, a small piece offering for the night ahead. Daniel opened the door before she could ring the bell, his face lighting up in a genuine smile. Hey, you made it. Emily returned his smile, stepping inside. The living room was cozy, with a large couch facing the TV, blankets scattered around, and a small table stacked with snacks. But what caught Emily's attention most was the small figure sitting cross-legged on the floor, eyes glued to the screen. Lily. She was clutching a well-worn stuffed dragon, eyes wide with wonder at the animated tale unfolding. Daniel nodded toward the couch. She's been asking all day when you'd come. Emily felt her nerves thicken. This was more than an afternoon in the park. This was stepping into the heart of the family. Hi, Lily. Emily said softly as she lowered herself to sit on the edge of the couch. Lily glanced at her cautiously, then back to the screen. Emily reached into the bag and pulled out the popcorn. I brought the good stuff, she said with a smile, offering it. Slowly, Lily reached out and took a handful, still not quite making eye contact. Daniel chuckled. You've got her approval. Emily gave him a grateful look but stayed silent. She knew these moments were delicate. Trust wasn't given freely, especially not by a child who had already lived through loss. The movie played on. Dragons soaring through the skies, battles waged, and friendships forged. At one point, Lily glanced sideways at Emily, a small smile flickering across her lips. Emily took the chance. So, do you think you could train a dragon if you had one? Lily looked at her seriously. Maybe, but only if it was a nice dragon. That's fair. I'd want a dragon that liked stories and cookies. Cookies are important. Lily's words broke the ice in a way that felt real. After the movie, Daniel suggested ordering pizza. As the three of them sat around the small dining table, Emily watched the way Lily relaxed, slipping into giggles and even stealing slices from Daniel's plate. Later, as Emily was about to leave, Lily hesitated. Emily, she asked quietly. Yes? Will you come back? Emily's heart swelled. I'd like that very much. Daniel smiled, his eyes warm. Thank you for being here. Emily stepped into the night, the stars above seeming a little brighter. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but tonight, a small seed of family had been planted, fragile, yes, but full of hope. Chapter 4. Becoming family, the first challenges. Days turned into weeks, and Emily found herself increasingly woven into the rhythm of Daniel and Lily's lives. Mornings began with hurried breakfasts and shared laughter, afternoons with school pickups and homework help, evenings with quiet talks and bedtime stories. But beneath the surface of this emerging family, challenges lingered like shadows waiting for the light. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, Emily was helping Lily with her math homework when the phone rang. Daniel's name flashed on the screen. Hey, Daniel, Emily answered, flipping a page. Emily, can you take Lily to the doctor? I'm stuck at a job site. She's been coughing a lot. Of course. Is she feeling bad? She's got a fever, too. Sorry to dump this on you. It's okay. I'll bring her over after school. When Lily arrived home that evening, pale and tired, Emily's heart tightened. She tucked Lily into bed and sat beside her, gently stroking her hair. "Do you want me to call Hannah?" Lily whispered. Emily paused, considering. Daniel and Hannah's relationship was distant but complicated. Emily knew Hannah still visited Lily, but boundaries were thin and often crossed. "Only if you want to." "Sweetie," Emily replied softly. Lily shook her head. "No, I want you here." The next few days were a blur of doctor's appointments and sleepless nights. Emily sat vigil by Lily's bedside, mixing medicines and reading stories in a soft voice. Meanwhile, Daniel seemed to drift between work and the hospital, exhausted and distracted. One evening, while Emily prepared dinner, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from an unknown number. "Hope Lily is doing better. Let me know if you need anything." Emily's breath caught. "Hannah." She debated ignoring it, but replied simply, "Thank you. She's resting now." A quick reply came. "If you want, we could meet at the hospital tomorrow." The following day, Emily arrived early at the hospital, Lily tucked under her arm, and found Hannah waiting by the entrance to the pediatric ward. The tension was palpable. Hannah's eyes were sharp but tired. "Thank you for taking care of her." Emily nodded. "She needs to be cared for. That's what matters." They talked cautiously at first, exchanging updates about Lily's health and school. But beneath the surface, unspoken feelings simmered: resentment, regret, and the complex ties of shared parenthood. After a long silence, Hannah looked at Emily with something softer. "I know this isn't easy for you. I wasn't sure at first, but you've been good to her." Emily was surprised but grateful. "I only want what's best for her." As they parted, Emily felt a fragile truce had been formed. That night, Daniel came home late, weary but relieved. Emily met him at the door. "You're running yourself ragged." He smiled tiredly. "I have to. For Lily." Emily reached out and took his hand. "We're a team now. You don't have to carry it alone." He looked at her then, eyes full of gratitude and something deeper, a hope. Yet even as the days grew warmer, Emily sensed the growing closeness between Daniel and Hannah. Their texts were more frequent, their conversations longer. She reminded herself to trust. But a quiet unease settled in her chest. Still, for Lily's sake, she held on to one truth. Love was not about perfection. It was about fighting for what mattered. Chapter 5. Shadows of the Past. The sun filtered weakly through the half-drawn curtains of the living room. Emily sat curled on the couch, a cup of untouched tea warming in her hands, her eyes fixed on the muted television. But her thoughts were elsewhere, tangled and restless. Daniel had left early that morning for a site meeting, promising to return by dinner. Instead, his phone was silent for hours. Emily's phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Can we talk? It's important." Her heart skipped, but it wasn't the warmth she had hoped for. When Daniel came home that evening, his face was heavy with conflict. "I need to be honest with you," he began, voice low. "Hannah reached out to me last week. We met to talk about Lily. About things unresolved." Emily's breath caught. "Unresolved." He ran a hand through his hair. "We have history, Em. It's complicated. She's been going through a rough time. I didn't expect. It just happened." Emily sat back, the weight of his words settling like cold stones in her chest. "Did you?" Daniel hesitated, then shook his head. "No. It never went beyond talking. But I didn't tell you because I was afraid of hurting you." Emily's voice was calm but firm. "Hurt me?" "Daniel, the truth hurts less than secrets. If we're going to make this work." "I know," he interrupted, eyes pleading. "I want to be with you. You and Lily. But what about Hannah? What about this history you keep mentioning?" she pressed. Daniel looked away. "She's still part of Lily's life. And I can't just erase that." The days that followed were strained. Emily tried to focus on Lily's recovery, but shadows crept into the corners of their home. Texts between Daniel and Hannah increased, often when Emily was out or busy with work. Quiet phone calls in another room left Emily feeling like an outsider. One afternoon, while organizing Lily's school things, Emily found a folded note tucked inside the girl's notebook. It wasn't addressed to her, but the words stung all the same. Waiting for you, H. Emily's hands trembled as she folded it back carefully. That evening, Daniel returned from work. His expression guarded. Emily took a deep breath. We need boundaries, Daniel. For Lily. For us. He nodded, but the hesitation lingered. I'll talk to Hannah. She wanted to believe him. But deep inside, the unease was growing. Late that night, Emily lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She loved Daniel. She loved Lily. But love wasn't always enough. Sometimes, love meant standing firm even when it hurt. Chapter 6. Storm clouds gather. The chill of early autumn had settled over Portland, and with it came a heaviness that weighed on the small family's fragile peace. Lily's cough had worsened, no longer just a persistent tickle but a deep, rattling sound that rattled through her tiny frame. Emily sat beside Lily's bed in the quiet hospital room, holding her hand, tracing the soft lines of her palm. The rhythmic beep of the monitors was a constant reminder of how precarious everything felt. Daniel was at her side, his usual calm replaced with exhaustion etched deep into his features. The doctor's words had been cautious but urgent. Lily's infection was more serious than first thought. She would need close monitoring and treatment that would take weeks. Emily nodded quietly, focusing on Lily's small face, pale but peaceful in sleep. This will be hard, Daniel said softly. But we'll get through it together. Emily wanted to believe him. She needed to believe him. But even in the hospital's sterile halls, the past was not far behind. Emily's phone buzzed with a message that made her heart sink. Can we talk? I think Lily needs both of us. Hannah. Emily debated ignoring it but knew it was futile. The ties between Daniel and Hannah were tangled and ongoing. And Lily, caught between two worlds, was the fragile center. When Emily arrived at the hospital the next morning, Hannah was already there, sitting quietly in the corner, eyes tired but steady. Thank you for coming, Hannah said without preamble. Emily nodded. I want what's best for Lily. Hannah's gaze softened. Me too. But beneath the words was an undercurrent of something else, unresolved feelings, unspoken regrets. Over the next days, Daniel and Hannah spent long hours together, coordinating Lily's care. Emily helped where she could but found herself increasingly sidelined. Late one evening, as Emily was preparing to leave, she overheard voices in the hallway. Daniel's voice, low and earnest. Hannah's, soft and pleading. She paused, heart pounding. Then she heard it, a whispered promise. A name, yes. Emily's world tilted. Returning to her empty apartment that night, the silence was deafening. She stared at her phone, at Daniel's name blinking on the screen. Her fingers hovered. Then she turned it off. Sometimes, love wasn't enough. Sometimes, the hardest act of love was letting go. Chapter 7. The Fracture. Emily stood by the kitchen window, staring out at the rainy streets of Portland. The steady drizzle blurred the neon signs, mirroring the fog clouding her heart. The house was silent, too silent. Daniel and Lily were still at the hospital. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Daniel, running late, will be home soon. She typed back, be safe. Then set the phone down. The distance between the words on the screen and the cold space in her chest felt like a chasm growing too wide to bridge. That morning, Emily had confronted Daniel after finding another message on his phone, brief, loaded with unspoken promises, sent in the dead of night. Is this what I think it is? She asked, voice trembling. Daniel sighed, rubbing his forehead. Emily, it's complicated. Complicated? You promised me honesty. He looked at her, eyes heavy. I'm trying. But Hannah and I, It's hard to just cut ties when it's about Lily. Emily shook her head, tears welling. It's never just about Lily, is it? It's about you. And her. And what you won't let go. Days passed with a growing chill between them. Daniel was physically present, but emotionally distant. Emily felt herself retreating, walls rising where trust had once flourished. One afternoon, while she was preparing dinner, the doorbell rang. Standing there was Hannah, unexpectedly. "I need to talk to you," she said quietly. Emily's heart pounded but nodded. Inside, Hannah confessed her own pain, how she'd hoped for a chance to rebuild her family, how she struggled with letting go. Emily listened, surprise mingling with sorrow. They were both women caught in a tangled web spun by one man's indecision. That night, Emily wrote in her journal, "I tried to love all of you, the past, the present, the promise. But love is not a cage. It's a choice. And sometimes, the bravest choice is to set yourself free." When Daniel came home late, Emily was ready. "I can't do this anymore," she said firmly. "Not like this." He looked at her, stunned. "Emily, no. I won't be the woman who stays silent while you live in two worlds." He opened his mouth to protest, but she held up her hand. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about my dignity, my heart." As she packed her things, Lily's soft footsteps echoed behind her. "Mom? Where are you going?" Emily knelt down, taking Lily's hands. "I need to find a place where I can be happy, Lily. Where you can be safe." Tears welled in Lily's eyes. Emily hugged her tightly. "You'll always be my family." The fracture was painful, but sometimes healing begins only when what's broken is left behind. Chapter 8. New Beginnings. Quiet Hopes. Emily stood outside a quaint cafe nestled on a bustling Portland street, the aroma of freshly ground coffee beckoning her inside. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind, moving out of the house she once shared with Daniel and Lily, sorting through memories that clung stubbornly to every corner. But today was different. Today was about reclaiming herself. The bell above the door chimed softly as she stepped inside. Warm light and soft jazz music wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. She took a deep breath and settled into a corner seat by the window, pulling out a notebook to jot down thoughts. The door opened again, and a man entered, shaking rain from his jacket. He caught sight of her and smiled, a gentle warmth in his eyes. "Hi, I'm Nathan," he said, extending a hand. "I own this place." Emily shook it, surprised by the sincerity. "Emily." Nathan pulled up a chair. "You look like you could use a friend." She laughed softly. "You're good at reading people." Over the next hour, they talked about life, books, dreams left on hold. Nathan spoke of his cafe as more than just a business, but a space where stories were shared and hearts healed. Emily found herself opening up in ways she hadn't in months. She told him about Lily, about Daniel, about the tangled love that had brought both joy and pain. Nathan listened without judgment, his presence steady. Days turned into weeks. Emily returned often to the cafe, finding solace in its cozy corners and in Nathan's quiet company. He never rushed her, never pressed for more than she was ready to give. One afternoon, as autumn leaves spiraled outside, Nathan surprised her with a book, a collection of poems about new beginnings. "For when you're ready," he said. Emily's eyes shimmered. "Thank you." But even as warmth blossomed, shadows lingered. Daniel occasionally reached out, asking about Lily, about the possibility of co-parenting more peacefully. Emily answered carefully, protecting both herself and the child she still cared for deeply. One evening, Nathan walked her home under a sky streaked with stars. "No matter what the past holds," he said, "there's always room for hope." Emily smiled, feeling something she hadn't in a long time, a quiet hope. In the soft glow of the city lights, she realized healing wasn't about forgetting or pretending. It was about embracing the possibility of happiness on her own terms. And for the first time in years, Emily felt ready to live fully again. Chapter 9. Echoes of the Past. The crisp air of early winter carried a chill that matched the knot tightening in Emily's stomach. She stood outside the little cafe, fingers tucked into her coat pockets, watching the world bustle past. The scent of pine and freshly fallen snow lingered faintly in the breeze. Nathan was inside, busy behind the counter, arranging pastries with his usual quiet care. Emily's phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "We need to talk. It's about Lily." Her heart beat faster, and the warmth Nathan had helped her find felt suddenly fragile. Later that evening, Emily sat across from Daniel at a small booth in a quiet restaurant. The soft glow of candlelight barely warmed the tension between them. "I've been thinking about Lily, about what's best for her," Daniel began. "Hannah and I, we're trying to work things out. For her." Emily held his gaze, steady but resolute. "And what about me? What about the family we tried to build?" Daniel's eyes flickered with regret. "I never wanted to hurt you. But this is complicated." "It always is with you," Emily said softly. "But I've moved on, Daniel. I'm building something new." He nodded, accepting her words. "I want what's best for Lily, and for you to be happy." That night, Emily found herself walking through the city park where she and Daniel had first met. The trees were bare, their branches etched against the night sky like delicate black lace. Her phone vibrated again. This time, a message from Nathan. "Thinking of you. Dinner tomorrow?" Emily smiled, feeling a warmth that no chill could touch. But peace was fragile. A few days later, while helping Lily with school projects at Daniel's house, Emily noticed her phone buzzing persistently. It was a message from Hannah. "Can we talk? For Lily's sake." The past was reaching out again, pulling her back into a story she was desperate to leave behind. That evening, as snow began to fall softly outside, Emily sat alone with her thoughts. She realized healing was not a straight path. It twisted and turned, sometimes pulling you back before moving forward. And sometimes, the greatest courage was choosing to keep walking. Chapter 10. Crossroads of the Heart. Emily sat at the kitchen table, the soft hum of the heater filling the silence. A letter lay open in front of her, an invitation from Daniel to a meeting about co-parenting arrangements, suggesting they try to find common ground for Lily's sake. Her mind spun. She wanted peace. For Lily. For herself. But the memories of broken promises, secret texts, and late-night whispers with Hannah were sharp knives beneath her skin. That night, Nathan stopped by her apartment with a small bouquet of wildflowers, their colors bright against the winter gray. "I thought you could use a little light," he said gently. Emily smiled, grateful for his steady presence. "I'm at a crossroads," she confessed. "I want to do what's best for Lily. But I'm tired of being caught in the middle." Nathan reached across the table, taking her hand. "You deserve happiness, Emily. Not just because of Lily, but because you matter." The next day, Emily met Daniel at a neutral location, a community center room reserved for family meetings. The air was thick with unspoken tension as they sat across from each other, a mediator facilitating the conversation. They discussed schedules, responsibilities, and boundaries. When Daniel mentioned spending more time with Hannah to support Lily, Emily's heart clenched. But she kept her voice calm. "This is about Lily. Not about us," she said firmly. "I want her to have both parents. But I won't be part of a triangle that hurts anyone." Daniel nodded, meeting her eyes. "I understand." After the meeting, Emily returned home, exhausted but resolute. She opened her journal and wrote, "Love isn't about sacrifice alone. It's about respect for myself, for Lily, for the life I want to build." In the following weeks, Emily found a new rhythm. She co-parented with Daniel with clear boundaries and honest communication. Nathan remained a constant source of support, his quiet kindness a balm to her weary soul. One evening, Nathan took her hand as they walked through a park blanketed in snow. "Whatever comes next, remember this: you are worthy of love, whole, unbroken, and free." Emily smiled, the cold air filling her lungs with hope. Chapter 11. Embracing Freedom. Winter's quiet settled over Portland, a gentle hush covering the city in soft white. Emily stood at her apartment window, watching the flakes drift slowly down. The world looked fresh, renewed. She felt something similar stirring inside her. This was her time. Since the co-parenting meeting, a fragile peace had woven itself between Emily and Daniel. Boundaries had been drawn. Respect cautiously rebuilt. Lily thrived in the balance, a bright spark at the center of two homes. Emily, too, was growing stronger. That morning, she met Nathan at the cafe, the scent of coffee and fresh pastries warming the air. He greeted her with a smile that made her heart beat a little faster. "Ready for the next chapter?" he asked. Emily laughed softly. "I think so." They spent the morning planning small events for the cafe, poetry readings, art shows, ways to invite community and joy back into their lives. Later that week, Emily received a call from Daniel. "I wanted to thank you," he said quietly, "for everything you've done for Lily, and for handling this with such grace." Emily smiled, touched but firm. "We both want what's best for her." "I'm glad you're finding happiness," he added. "You deserve it." That night, Emily sat alone with her journal, writing words that felt like a promise. "I am not defined by the past, but by the choices I make today. I choose freedom, love, and myself." Weeks turned into months. Emily's life blossomed with new friendships, laughter, and the soft unfolding of love with Nathan, a love grounded not in desperation, but in respect and understanding. One evening, as they walked hand in hand beneath a canopy of stars, Emily whispered, "Thank you for helping me believe in happiness again." Nathan squeezed her hand gently. "You never lost it. You just forgot to see it." The past had left its scars, but it did not own her. Emily had chosen herself. And that was the most powerful love of all. Chapter 12. Strength in New Light. Spring unfurled over Portland with delicate blossoms and gentle breezes, echoing the quiet renewal in Emily's heart. The days grew longer, filled with laughter, community, and a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. Emily's cafe events had become a sanctuary, not just for others, but for herself. Surrounded by art and poetry, she found a space to breathe, to dream, and to heal. Nathan stood by her side through it all, a steady presence whose kindness never wavered. But life, as always, was unpredictable. One afternoon, a call came from Lily's school. Daniel's voice was strained. "Lily's been having some trouble," he said. "She's acting out, confused. I think she's struggling with everything that's happened." Emily's heart tightened. They arranged to meet that evening to talk, to understand, to support. Sitting together with Daniel and Lily in a quiet cafe, Emily watched the little girl's uncertainty. She reached out, gently brushing Lily's hair back. "We're both here for you, Lily," Emily said softly. "No matter what." Daniel nodded, relief in his eyes. Together, they made plans for counseling, for more time, for patience. That night, Emily journaled. "Healing is not linear. It's messy, slow, but worth every step. We're learning together." As weeks passed, Lily's smiles returned, brighter and more genuine. Emily felt pride in the strength of their blended family, imperfect, yes, but built on honesty and care. One evening, Nathan surprised Emily with a small gift, a framed photo of the three of them, Emily, Lily, and Nathan, smiling under a golden sunset. "It's for when you forget how far you've come," he said. Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you for everything." In the warmth of new beginnings, Emily realized that strength was not just surviving the past, but embracing the present and believing in the future. Chapter 13. Healing Hearts. Spring deepened its hold on Portland, painting the city in soft greens and blooming flowers. Emily felt the change in the air, not just outside her window, but inside herself. The ache of the past was no longer a shadow, but a memory gently fading. Lily's laughter echoed through the house as she practiced cartwheels in the backyard, a sight Emily had once thought impossible. Daniel watched from the porch, a small, genuine smile on his face. Emily stood beside Nathan, her hand in his, feeling the warmth of a family redefined, not by blood alone, but by love and choice. One afternoon, Emily met Hannah unexpectedly at Lily's school. Their eyes met across the playground, and for a moment, the weight of their shared past hung between them. Hannah approached slowly. "Thank you for everything you've done for Lily." Emily nodded. "We all want what's best for her." Hannah smiled, a little softer than before. "Maybe this time we can all try to get along." Emily smiled back. "For Lily's sake." That evening, as the sun dipped low, Emily and Nathan sat on the porch, watching fireflies dance in the twilight. "I never thought I'd find this," Emily said, voice full of wonder. "Peace, joy, love." Nathan kissed her forehead gently. "You earned it." Emily's journal lay open on the table, the final line written in bold. "Love is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of hope. Today, I choose hope." Her past had tested her, but it had not defined her. Emily had chosen herself, and in that choice, she had found healing. Chapter 14. A New Dawn. The morning light filtered softly through the curtains, bathing Emily's apartment in a warm glow. She stretched, feeling a peacefulness she hadn't known for years. The quiet moments like these, simple and unhurried, were the rewards of the hard journey she had traveled. Emily brewed a pot of coffee and glanced out the window at the bustling street below. The city was waking up, full of possibility. Nathan's text pinged. "Coffee at the cafe? I've got something to show you." She smiled, grabbed her coat, and stepped into the fresh air. At the cafe, Nathan greeted her with a gentle hug. "I found this," he said, holding up a small box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a pendant shaped like a phoenix. "For you," he explained. A symbol of rising from the ashes. Emily's eyes shimmered with tears. "Thank you. It means more than you know." Later that day, Emily visited Lily's school to pick her up. As Lily ran into her arms, Emily felt the fullness of a life rebuilt. Daniel was waiting nearby, a respectful distance, sharing a smile. Their relationship was no longer complicated by secrets or resentment, but grounded in mutual care for their daughter. That evening, Emily sat at her journal, pen poised. "The past is a chapter, not the whole story. I am the author of my life now, and this story is just beginning." Outside, the stars twinkled like distant promises. Emily closed her eyes, breathing in hope. The dawn was new, and so was she. Chapter 15. Finding Love Again. The air was crisp with the freshness of early spring, the kind that promises renewal and new beginnings. Emily stood outside the small art gallery in downtown Portland, her breath forming tiny clouds in the cool morning air. The soft hum of city life surrounded her, but inside, her heart beat with quiet excitement and a trace of nervous anticipation. This was not just any day. It was the day she would meet Nathan not just as a friend or the owner of the cafe, but as something more. The gallery was warm and inviting, the walls lined with vibrant paintings and delicate sculptures. Soft classical music played in the background, setting a gentle mood that matched Emily's tentative hope. Nathan was already there, waiting near a cluster of abstract paintings, his face lighting up when he saw her. "You made it," he said, his voice steady and kind. "I wouldn't miss it," Emily replied, smiling. As they wandered among the artworks, they talked easily about life, dreams, and the past that had shaped them both. Emily felt the weight of her burdens lighten in Nathan's presence. His laughter was genuine, and his eyes held a kindness that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't for a long time. At one point, Nathan stopped beside a painting that seemed to capture a phoenix rising from the ashes, fiery, resilient, beautiful. "This reminds me of you," he said softly. A symbol of transformation and hope. Emily felt tears prick the corners of her eyes. "I'm still learning to rise." Nathan took her hand gently. "And I'll be here as long as you want." Later, they found themselves seated at a small cafe table across from each other, sharing coffee and stories. Nathan spoke of his own scars, the times he'd fallen and risen again. Emily shared her journey, the pain, the healing, and the fierce determination to live on her own terms. The connection between them deepened, rooted in understanding and respect. As the afternoon sun began to dip, Nathan leaned forward, his voice tender. "Emily, I don't want to rush anything, but I want you to know that I care for you deeply. When you're ready, I'd like to explore where this can go. Together." Emily's heart fluttered, a mixture of hope and cautious joy. "I'm ready to try," she whispered. That evening, Emily returned home with a quiet happiness she hadn't known in years. She looked around her cozy apartment, the soft blankets, the blooming flowers on the windowsill, and realized how far she'd come. Her past, with all its pain and mistakes, was behind her. Her future, filled with possibility, stretched ahead. And for the first time, she truly believed she deserved love that was whole and true. Emily sat at her journal, pen flowing as she wrote. "Love isn't perfect. It's messy, fragile, and beautiful. And I'm ready to embrace it again with open eyes and an open heart." Outside, the stars sparkled brightly, a silent celebration of new beginnings and the courage to love again. Chapter 16. A Journey Home. The airplane hummed softly as it descended through a blanket of clouds, the patchwork of fields and city streets of Portland slowly coming into view below. Emily gazed out the window, a swirl of emotions tightening in her chest, hope, anxiety, and a quiet determination. It had been months since she left the home she once shared with Daniel and Lily, months filled with healing, new love, and learning to reclaim herself. Now, she was returning not to the past she fled, but to the life she was ready to embrace fully. The airport buzzed with familiar sounds, rolling suitcases, joyful reunions, and the distant echo of announcements. Emily collected her bag and stepped out into the crisp air, breathing in deeply. Portland was home, not the place of pain, but the foundation of her new beginning. Nathan was waiting by the arrival's gate, his smile bright and reassuring. "Welcome home," he said, opening his arms. Emily smiled back, stepping into his embrace. Their days quickly settled into a comforting rhythm. Mornings spent at the cafe, afternoons exploring local parks, and evenings filled with quiet conversations about dreams and fears. But the true test was yet to come. Emily had arranged to meet Daniel and Lily that weekend for a family picnic at the city's botanical gardens, a symbol of their willingness to build a new kind of family. When she arrived, Lily ran into her arms with a bright smile, her eyes shining with the innocence of childhood. Daniel greeted Emily with a nod and a tentative smile, the past between them softened but still present. As they spread blankets beneath the blooming cherry trees, laughter and chatter filled the air. Emily watched Lily chase butterflies, her heart swelling with hope. Later, as the sun began to set, Daniel pulled Emily aside. "I want to thank you," he said quietly, "for everything you've done. For Lily, for being strong." Emily met his gaze. "We've both grown. For Lily's sake. This family can be different now." He nodded, a glimmer of something like peace in his eyes. That night, Emily sat at her journal, the words flowing like a gentle river. Home isn't just a place. It's the people we choose to carry in our hearts. I'm ready to move forward with love, forgiveness, and hope. Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars come to earth, a reminder that even after the darkest storms, a new dawn is always possible. Chapter 17. New Roots and Old Wounds. The sun filtered gently through the leaves of the maple trees lining the quiet street where Emily had recently moved. She stood outside her new home. A cozy townhouse nestled in a friendly neighborhood, the scent of fresh paint and blooming flowers mingling in the air. It was a place she had chosen carefully, a fresh start. A blank canvas on which to build a life truly her own. Nathan was beside her, carrying a box labeled kitchen. He grinned, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. Ready to make this place a home? Emily smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. More than ever. The unpacking was slow and joyful, each item finding its place amidst the walls that promised new memories. As the afternoon faded to evening, Emily paused by the window, watching children play and neighbors chat. Yet beneath the calm, a faint ache lingered, reminders of the past that still tugged at her heart. Later that week, Emily received a call from Daniel. "We need to talk," he said, voice hesitant. About Lily. Emily braced herself, knowing the conversations about co-parenting were never easy. When they met at the local library, Daniel looked tired but determined. "Lily's been asking questions about us." "About her family," he said softly. "I think she's confused." Emily nodded. "She deserves honesty, but also reassurance." Together, they crafted a plan to support Lily, counseling, open communication, and clear boundaries. That night, Emily confided in Nathan. "I want to be strong for Lily and Daniel," she said. "But sometimes I wonder if the past will ever really let go." Nathan took her hand gently. "Healing takes time. And it's okay to have doubts. But you're not alone." Days passed with small victories and occasional setbacks. Emily learned to balance her roles: mother figure, partner, and independent woman. One afternoon, while tending to her garden, Emily found a wildflower growing stubbornly through a crack in the pavement. She smiled. Like that flower, she was resilient, rooted in hope and reaching for the light. That evening, Emily wrote in her journal, "The past may cast shadows, but I choose to plant new roots, deep, strong, and filled with light." Chapter 18. Letting Go. Moving Forward. The chill of late autumn had settled over Portland, painting the city in muted browns and golds. Emily stood on the porch of her new home, wrapped in a soft scarf, watching leaves drift lazily along the sidewalk. The quiet was a stark contrast to the turmoil she had left behind, but a welcome balm for her weary heart. Emily's days had grown steadier. Between caring for Lily and nurturing her relationship with Nathan, she was learning to embrace life on her own terms. Yet, the past still lingered like a shadow, especially the complex bond between Daniel and Hannah. One rainy afternoon, Emily received a call from Hannah. "I want to talk." Hannah's voice was hesitant but sincere. "For Lily's sake. I think it's time we set some things straight." Emily agreed to meet at a cozy cafe they had once visited with Daniel, the memories bittersweet. Sitting across from each other, Emily and Hannah shared stories, fears, regrets, hopes. It was not easy, but in those moments, they found a fragile understanding. "I want what's best for Lily," Hannah said softly. "And for you to be happy." Emily nodded, feeling a tentative bridge form between them. Later that evening, Emily spoke with Daniel. "We can't change the past," she said firmly. "But we can choose how we move forward." Daniel smiled, relief evident. "Together, for Lily." That night, Emily journaled. "Letting go is not forgetting. It's accepting what was, so we can embrace what will be." The next morning, Emily and Nathan walked hand in hand through the park, leaves crunching beneath their feet. "Ready for whatever comes next?" Nathan asked. Emily squeezed his hand. "I am." The journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, Emily felt truly free. Chapter 19. A New Family. A New Hope. The early morning sun cast a warm glow over Portland's City Park, where Emily watched Lily play on the swings. Her laughter rang clear and bright, a melody that eased the lingering shadows in Emily's heart. Nearby, Nathan sat quietly on a bench, his eyes following both mother and daughter with a gentle smile. This was the life Emily had fought for, imperfect, yet filled with love and possibility. After months of navigating the complexities of blended family life, the fragile bonds between Emily, Daniel, and Hannah had softened into mutual respect, all centered on what mattered most, Lily. Today, they were gathering for Lily's birthday picnic, a celebration of new beginnings and shared hopes. The park was alive with color, balloons tied to benches, laughter from children playing nearby, and the aroma of freshly baked cake carried by the breeze. Daniel arrived with a wrapped gift, exchanging a brief but sincere smile with Emily. Hannah followed shortly after, her presence calm and respectful. Though their past was woven with pain, today was about healing. Lily's eyes sparkled as she opened gifts, surrounded by adults who, despite their differences, united in her happiness. Emily caught Nathan's hand, squeezing it gently. This is everything. Nathan nodded. It's more than I hoped for you. As the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the gathering, Emily stood to speak. I want to thank all of you, she said, voice steady, for being here, for loving Lily, and for helping me find strength when I thought I had none. Tears glistened in the eyes around her, including Daniel's and Hannah's. Later, as the stars emerged, Emily and Nathan walked hand in hand under the quiet sky. Family isn't perfect, Nathan said softly, but it's real, and it's ours. Emily smiled, her heart full. And it's just the beginning. With hope lighting the way, Emily embraced the future, one built on love, forgiveness, and the courage to choose happiness. Chapter 20. The Beginning of Everything. The first light of dawn crept softly over Portland, casting a gentle glow on Emily's face as she awoke. The house was quiet, filled with the promise of a new day, and with it a new chapter in her life. For the first time in years, Emily felt truly at peace. The past had shaped her, its wounds, its lessons, its heartaches, but it no longer defined her. She had walked through fire and emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace love on her own terms. That morning, she brewed coffee for two, the aroma filling the kitchen as Nathan joined her with a smile. Ready for breakfast? He asked, wrapping an arm around her. Emily leaned into the warmth, her heart full. Always. Over pancakes and laughter, they spoke of dreams, shared and individual, of travels they would take, books they would read, and the family they would nurture. Later, Emily received a message from Daniel. Lily's doing great. Thank you for everything. She smiled, grateful for the peaceful connection they had forged. As the day unfolded, Emily sat by the window, journal in hand. She wrote, "Today is not an end, but a beginning, a chance to live fully, love deeply, and choose happiness every day." Outside, the city buzzed with life, but inside Emily's heart, there was stillness, a calm certainty that she had finally found her way home. Nathan squeezed her hand gently. "Here's to the beginning of everything." Emily smiled, eyes shining. "To us."